Hi guys, welcome to Travel with Austin. I'm Austin. Today we are going to be taking a tour of the Ohio State Reformatory in Mansfield, Ohio. Now, this historic prison is best known for being the shooting location of the Shawshank Redemption. It is also where some scenes from Air Force One were shot, along with a few other smaller movies. And as you can see right now, we are starting our tour in the warden section or the admin section, and this particular area has been kind of made into a Shawshank museum. So you can see here we're coming up to the Brooke Hatton's Memorial Library, and all of these books in this bookcase were actually in the film. Now there are lots of little props as well as information about the film on the walls here. So as we come in here, you can see we also do have some cutouts of characters from the movie. Here is the record player and the record from the movie that Andy plays over the speakers. Here is one of the props used in the movie. And then here is a fun little thing where you can sit down and pretend that you are taking a picture with the characters of the movie. Fun fact about that table was actually used in the prison during its actual use. Now again, we're coming in here to another room filled with props and information about the movie. And while we're just taking a quick look around here, you're going to see this gate outside that was used in the movie Air Force One. And we're going to see the red letter that Andy wrote to Red, and the little box that it was stored in. Up until a few years ago, the tree from that scene still existed. I do believe it sadly got struck by lightning. Now over here we do have the secretary's desk, and we are entering into the warden's office. Now this is a great recreation. You can see his Bible verse on the wall. They did get a similar safe, but it is not the one from the movie, unfortunately. And then here we have his desk and chair, along with some cutouts. You are not allowed to sit on the chair, but you can take a look at it. And you can also take a look out the windows to see the long, beautiful driveway here. And you can see the picture of his wife and his telephone. And now as we walk back into the main admin section and kind of leave this part that is a bit of a museum, let's talk a bit about the Ohio State Reformatory itself. So it opened in 1896 after 10 years of construction. It was designed by none other than Levi Tucker Schofield, who you may know as the architect of the Ridges. Now, as we enter on here, we are going to enter into the parole room where Red would go to see if he was getting paroled. You can see again we have some cutouts, and can take a look out the front window there. And then we do have the table set up. There are some files here. I do not believe that they are actually from the movie, but recreations of the ones from the movie. And you can see we have some pictures here from the movie itself. Now, when this prison was first built, it was built on the reformatory model. And basically that was the idea that you could reform and rehabilitate inmates. People who were placed here received things such as religion, education, and inmates. Originally, they were admitted for 18 months, and if they showed progress, they could be released. If not, they got another 18 months. And apparently, this model was actually very successful, and the Ohio State Reformatory had a very high success rate. However, by the 1960s, the state decided they didn't want to reform people anymore and began converting OSR into a maximum security prison. Now, if you do come here, there is always something that is being renovated, and during our time, one of those areas was the actual warden's quarters, um, which unfortunately, as you can see, we could not go much further back there at the time. And as we go up here, you will also see that the delegates' quarters were also under renovation. Basically, this would be where if the warden had a guest or had someone staying there, they could come and stay on this floor. And you will notice as we look out this way, there is a little stage there, because that is where they would have people entertain these delegates, basically. Now, something else you may have noticed is that there is an elevator over here, right there. That is actually kind of new and was under renovation last time I was here. Now, as we continue this way, we are going to continue into the kind of the reformatory section, I guess you could call it, back from when it was a reformatory. Because you see, as we enter this hallway, we are leaving the warden's quarters, and we are entering the area with the chapel, the classroom, and a few other rooms. So as you can see here, as we enter down this hallway, we are entering the classroom area. Again, when this was a reformatory, the inmates did receive education as an attempt to reform them. Now you can see they do have some trivia up here, including how many inmates when it first opened, how many wardens did they have, and when Levi Tucker Schofield went over budget, what did they almost make this building? And of course, the answer is it was almost an asylum. Now, as we continue out of the classroom, we are going to continue into the hallway and take a look out here. Now, you are going to see a bunch of people grouped around one room, and that is the chair room. We are going to come back to that in just a second. Over here we have another room that I believe was a classroom. And then we have a whole section that unfortunately is not open, and I don't think it's ever been open anytime I've been here. So I'm not exactly sure what else is there. Now I do believe that that room would have been a secondary classroom. And then we're going to head back to the infamous chair room. Now, if I do remember correctly, this was actually a storage room when the prison was closed. But the legend here is that this chair, if you move it out of the center of the room, it will move itself back to the center of the room. People have also reported being scratched and even punched in this room. And if you ever come here for a paranormal event, this is the room that everyone seems to flock to. Now, speaking of the paranormal, as we walk through here, you're going to see where the lights kind of cross and form an X. Some people do say that that enhances paranormal activity, but I think it is just good architecture by Levi Schofield. Now, we do have a few rooms in here that I will admit I am personally not sure exactly what they were used for. Given their proximity to the school and the chapel, they could have been for the teachers or for whoever was in charge of the chapel, whether it be a pastor or priest. But you can see that we still have these rooms to walk through. And across the hall, you are going to see Brooke's room from the Shawshank Redemption. I do believe we don't take a look at it yet, but we will go ahead and take a look at it before we leave this area, don't worry. Now, back behind the stairs to the chapel, there is this little room that I do believe is technically not part of the tour. However, it is not blocked off, and as you can see, it was just a large bathroom, or at least it appears just to be a large bathroom, and is very much decayed. We can even take a quick look into the wall here, but as you can see, there's not much in here. There is another room on the opposite side of the stairs, and I have been in that room before. I cannot remember what is in it for the life of me. However, it was padlocked off at this time. Now again, we do have another room that could have acted as a bedroom for either a teacher or the pastor. And the closet in here does still have some dressers and stuff built into it, which is pretty neat. Now, we are going to make our way over to Brooks' room. So the outside of Brooks' room was actually used a shot of the Bismarck building in Mansfield, Ohio, and that was the exterior shot of what they called the Brewer Hotel in the film. However, the inside of the room was filmed right here in the Reformatory. Now, you can see up here we do have the Brooks was here, so was Red. Now that is actually not the original. They actually thought the prison was going to be torn down at first, so the original was removed and is currently on display in that Shawshank Museum, but that is a replica. Now we are going to make our way up to the chapel now, and as we make our way up to the stairs, you're going to see the stairs to the attic. Now this is one of two sets of stairs you take to get up there. In that area is actually where they had a tuberculosis ward at some point. Now over there you did see the elevator that they were actually working on, so it will be interesting to see what it's like when they get that working. Now, I should say that if you want to see any of these areas in more detail, or if you just want to see them by themselves, I am releasing just secluded areas on this, showing off certain areas just like the library, the hospital, showing Brooks' room in more detail, going over the warden's quarters again. I am making each of those their own little video just in case that is something you would rather focus on. Now, we do have this painting here in the chapel. Given that it is in Russian, I do believe it is from Air Force One. And here is a look at the chapel. Personally, I think this is a very beautiful room here, and it looks great. Now, as we continue on our tour, you are going to continue into the cell block. You are going to continue into the eastern cell block, which is beautiful and has great features like this spiral staircase. However, when you enter from the chapel, you are not going to enter on the first floor. You will be entering near the top floor and making your way down. However, I did feel that it was best to just show you from the ground level looking up instead of showing us navigating the maze. And this right here is the East Cell Block. It is the largest freestanding cell block in the world at 6 stories tall and is an absolute behemoth. And you can definitely take your time looking around here, looking in the cells, walking the corridors, and imagining what it would have been like to not only live here, but to be a guard here. Now, as you make your way down from the top floor of the East Cell Block down to ground level, you are going to get to see some interesting rooms, such as the old prison library, which is what is currently showing on screen. And of course, this is where inmates could check out books, get reading materials and reference materials. You also get to see the prison hospital, which of course is where prisoners with medical issues were treated. It is pretty empty at this time, but it is definitely something worth seeing. And if you have a history tour or an audio one, you can definitely get the history of this place. Then you also get to see the east cell block shower room, which is quite terrifying to think about how this massive room was used for showers by everyone. Now, once you are done seeing the east cell block, you enter the central section, which has some Shawshank stuff, a recently added museum, bathrooms, and it will also be your entrance into the west cell block. Now, this is the west cell block of the prison. It is actually much smaller than the east cell block, and interestingly enough, it also has its own little history of being used for filming, because you see the east cell block was used for a Lil Wayne video called Go DJ, and this is the exact cell. You can tell because it is painted golden red, so that is something very interesting to look out for here in the west cell block. And then once you are done with the west cell block, you are going to want to go ahead and check out solitary confinement. Now, this is the entrance to solitary confinement. It also contains the entrance to the basement, which is not open during daytime tours, but as the name would suggest, solitary confinement is where you would go if you broke one of the prison rules. Now, this could be something like you stabbed your roommate, or it could be that you wore improper identification. Really, anything could get you sent in here. Now, a lot of these cells had very little light, and of course, you were locked up alone in them. Now, this prison did face a lot of overcrowding, so at first that may seem not so bad having your own cell compared to being overcrowded. However, in the summer, this area was almost constantly 90 degrees or above, so it was not a fun time. Now, this area is also one of the more haunted areas in the prison, and actually during my first visit here, I experienced paranormal activity in that I heard someone walking around this cell block when I was the only person in here. Now, the last area I am going to show off today is the central guard room. This is an absolutely stunning area between the west and east cell block. It is beautifully made up, also contains portraits from the movie Air Force One. However, this is not always open, as they do hold events here sometimes, and during those events, this area is closed off to the public. I definitely recommend checking out the Ohio State Reformatory on your own. It is an absolutely beautiful and wonderful place to check out with a lot of history. They offer several different tours, including self-guided, guided, paranormal tours, and even overnight investigations. Anyway, that is all I have for you guys today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe. And I will see you guys next time with a brand new video. Thanks for watching.